Welcome to the Asset Mindset Podcast. Today we have another special guest, former Ranger Battalion, 10 Special Forces Group, fantastic guy, doing amazing things, and he's still actually in 19th Group. However, he's also doing stuff outside of the military. And Peter, it's great to have you here. Why don't you introduce yourself and let the people know what it is you got going on?
Yeah, sure, Dan. I appreciate it. Great to be here. I've seen some of the people you've had on board on this podcast, and I'm excited to be kind of in that list of names. A lot of really cool people. So you kind of covered it with the military experience. I went to Auburn University out of high school, did ROTC there. I didn't want to do the academy thing. My dad did that, and I didn't have a good taste in my mouth when I went up to the academies. I didn't feel like I'd fit in. So I did ROTC, went into the infantry, spent a year at Benning doing the whole, Ranger school, a couple other courses, mortar course, Pathfinder, whatever. And then I went up to Alaska for a year. After that year, I went to 3rd Ranger Battalion, did a couple deployments there. Q course after that, 10th Group, down to SOT-D. I got the Fort Polk assignment, which was actually a really cool job, but not exactly where the family wanted to live. And so, I decided to get out and focus on my family. We had young kids and I'd been gone a lot. And since then, I co-founded a nonprofit that focuses on, we're trying to help veterans with the mental health aspect through adventure therapy. So I always compare us to, like, think of the nonprofit that everybody's heard of that does hunting trips or hiking trips or whatever. We provide ocean rowing excursions, and it's called Courser Racing. So I started that out of we were trying to do it as a side hustle. And really it was something that I wanted to do. And it's grown. We've got a team of 5 now. We've sent a couple guys across the Pacific Ocean. They just finished up in last month, actually. And we're looking to do a Gulf Coast crossing and Atlantic Ocean crossing here soon. And then outside of that, full time, I work as a consultant at a Big 4 consulting firm. And I've been doing that for a couple years. And I'm paternity leave now. So I'm chilling for like 4 months, and it's been great.
Nice. Well, congratulations on your new child.
Yeah, I appreciate
Boy,
it.
girl?
It's a boy, and it's number 3. And I will say this is the first kid that I've had where I actually get to take a break. Like I get a real paternity leave, and it's like life changing. I've realized now that's like probably an area that the military could do better, because the time that I get to spend with like the older kids and then my newborn and my wife has been incredibly valuable. Is like I have nothing to think about except family, versus the other two. Even when I was in the delivery room, it's like, dude, I got a deployment in 3 weeks. Like, I got to get out of the hospital tonight. Let's go. Let's go, doc,
Yeah, that can
So
be rough.
I appreciate it though. Yeah.
No, it's amazing the quality time that you can have and those moments and the bonding. In the beginning,
Yep.
you think like, oh, they're just a baby. But boy, the bonding really does take place, and it is a very
Yeah.
special time. So I'm glad you're enjoying it and appreciating it.
100%. Yeah. I have like a newfound appreciation for this time. That even 3 years out of active duty, you kind of like continuously discovering, like, damn, dude, I never really focused on my family at all. Even though I thought I was. We were doing the vacations. I was taking, block leave or whatever, but I never really focused on my family. And, I'm 3 years out of active duty, and I feel like I'm finally starting to do that. It's been really great.
Well, that's fantastic. Glad you're doing it. Some people never have the opportunity to do it, or never
I
even
know it.
realize how important it is. There's people in the civilian world that are just addicted to work and in the office, and they don't give their
Oh,
family
yeah.
the time they deserve. So kudos to you, brother. Kudos to you.
I appreciate it. Hopefully I
So,
still have a job when I get off of paternity leave.
well, you'll
Because I'm
figure
radio
it out, I'm
silent, dude.
sure.
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
So cool. So, let me, you've accomplished a lot in your life and what you're doing. Let's go back to your childhood a little bit.
Yep.
And where did you first, I guess, find the desire to serve? Or did you ever have like a mindset shift where you're like, you know what? I want to do this or that, or
I
defining
actually
moment?
I could answer that in two questions. One, why I wanted to get into service, and then that defining moment. So I was actually a military brat. My mom was in for 31 years. My dad went to
Ah,
West Point, but he did his 5 years and got out and has been in business ever since. But growing up, as far back as I can remember, like our household parties that my family had was always military people. So I was around the army my entire life. In high school, I wanted to be a West Point guy. I ended up getting into, I think I got into West Point. I honestly don't remember. I definitely got into Air Force because I eventually went to West Point, said, not for me. I'll go fly jets. I got picked up to play lacrosse there and then ultimately decided not to do that. But the defining moment for me was, sounds super lame, but back in 2008 ish, there was a movie came out called Blood Diamond, and Leonardo DiCaprio's in it. He's got a terrible, accent that he's playing. But the opening scene of that movie, there's essentially a group of rebels that roll into a small village and just like murder everybody and chop hands off. And I was watching that in our movie room while my family was having this like party. And one of the guys that was friends with my mom or dad was kind of like standing over my shoulder watching. And I just couldn't, I grew up around guns and shooting and all of that. And I could not fathom like, how did these guys like have zero way to defend themselves when they know this rebel group is coming around? Like a couple rifles could have like disabled the first vehicle and at least gotten people out. And that guy, turns out he had had a special forces background and told me that he was like, oh, we actually had guys there. We taught them how to fight against those rebels. And that is when I knew I wanted to be in special forces. So it was
Oh.
graduating high school. I knew I wanted to be in special forces. The 4 years I was in college, undergrad, I was like on a pretty regular basis considering going down to the recruiter and just enlisting because there was peak war back then for the most part. But ultimately made the decision to stay in and did the ROTC thing. But military is kind of in my family, multi-generational. I'm the first one that did soft. But I always wanted to be a Green Beret on a team. That was kind of from that moment, figuring out that there's Army soft people whose mission is to go train those that can't defend themselves. That to me was huge, and that's what I wanted to be a part of.
No, that's incredible. Yeah, the motto was already a part of you before you even knew the motto.
Well, he
Deo
told me
Presso
that
Liber.
there too. He
Oh,
said,
did
he
he?
said, yeah, our thing is Deo Presso Liber. It's like we literally liberate the oppressed. And I don't remember that whole conversation, but what I remember is like having this aha moment of like, dude, a couple Americans with that village, like setting up an ambush on that road, like we could have done it. You know what I mean? And to me, that was what was most exciting. And then on top of that, like I was kind of a 9/11 kid. When 9/11 happened, it was like, I'm going to go to war. I'm going to go fight those people. It's just a matter of when. And unfortunately, we're all victims of timeline, but I was like racing to get there before the war was over. And fortunately got a little bit of a taste of it. And I'm very proud of that. But that was kind of all the part of the journey. You know, it was kind of just handed to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, hey, we all have our journey, our story, you know.
Yeah.
I'm grateful, brother, that you stepped up and you did it and you've done some amazing things. So, and you continue to do that. I mean, hear about this
Trying to.
rowing thing. Yeah, no. But talk more, please, about this Corsair racing and how you're changing people's lives through like rowing across the ocean.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it short because I can talk about this for hours, but a little bit of background. I was on vacation with my wife in like 2021. I was still in the army and we were in Antigua with another couple that I've been friends with. He was best man at my wedding. And we were walking up to this place called Sunset Cove or whatever. They do a sunset celebration every Sunday, and we wanted to see that. And as we were walking past the marina that this hilltop sits on, I saw all these boats. And I spent a lot of time on the water. I'd never seen this type of boat. So I'm standing there trying to figure out like, what is that? And there was nobody around them that knew what they were. So it's kind of just like looking around, whatever. As we walked up the hill, there was a sign for World's Toughest Row. And we just happened to be at the same sunset celebration where this ocean rowing race had just finished and crossed the Atlantic. So I got to spend the evening like talking to these people that had just finished, like literally the day prior that evening. And what I found was nobody I talked to was a freak athlete. They were all just like normal people that were interested in endurance sports or the adventure or whatever. I kept asking people like, dude, were you like a collegiate rower or something? And every one of them was like, no, man, I never rowed a day in my life. One guy was like, I don't even know how to swim. Like, that's ballsy, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, dude, all right. So while I was there, I texted my co-founder Blake and said, "Hey, do you want to row across the ocean?" He jumped on it right away. So like, sweet, we're gonna do this. And at the time, it was just I wanted to do something epic. I've always been one of those guys that's like, I'd love to climb Mount Everest if given the opportunity. Like, I wanted to go to combat. I want to jump out of planes. It was like the excitement that I was drawn to. Ultimately, when we started factoring all the expenses, we're like, there's no way. And so we put a stop to it. And then a few months later, both of us are in this transition group that caters to soft people, helps them get jobs or whatever. And somebody posted in there like, "Hey, does anybody want to row across the Pacific Ocean?" And I knew they were talking about World's Toughest Row, so I jumped on it. And long story short, like, those people aren't involved, but we ended up building a team. And then in the process, we needed two more guys at least. And so our first guy that joined was one of Blake's teammates, Chris Farrington, and he was one of those guys that was like, as soon as he heard it on the phone, he like looked at his wife and was like, "Hey, can I row across the ocean?" She's like, "You need to." Like, yeah, you should. So another one that just kind of like sent it. But honestly, and I don't like talking about Chris behind his back, but watching him go from like Army NCO that's about to retire and is just down for whatever to like business guy. He's like leading this little program that we have. I was like, dude, we actually could do some good for people in terms of like getting experience that's relevant for a resume. Cause at the time, Blake and I were both trying to find jobs. So then it's like, long story short, we morphed into a nonprofit. Like, initially, we were just going to donate everything we make to another nonprofit, but found that to be kind of silly. And so we were like, what if we just focus on getting veterans onto this boat, kind of like we are? Not everybody's going to be able to take a month or two off to cross an ocean, but we could do shorter ones. And it's a new sport. You'll be surrounded by other veterans. And essentially, it's just another opportunity, like an adventure therapy opportunity for vets. And everybody we've talked to about it has been really enthusiastic about it. So ultimately, we've morphed over time, like any organization, but now we're a fully functioning nonprofit that caters to vets, and we try to get as many veterans as we can out on the ocean, because that time that you're sitting on a boat, you'll have music or whatever, but you will be sitting talking to other people like you, especially if you're on the ocean where you don't have service. It's just valuable time. And I think that the time to reflect, challenge yourself, definitely be outside of your comfort zone, that combination inherently puts you through a hardship that bonds people. And I was not on this recent race with the three guys that went. Yeah, I had a kid. It just didn't work out. But again, like watching those dudes go from, "Hey, yeah, I'm down to row an ocean," to actually execute, and the years that built up to it, anybody that knows them can see the change in these people, these guys.
Mm.
And so that's what we're trying to capture and give back to others. It's just a slow process. We've had to raise 200 grand just to cover the boat and equipment.
Wow.
But we're pretty close now to starting to get others out on shorter excursions, and got a couple big rows coming up that should get us a lot of visibility and experience. So we're in,
That's
man. It's fun. It's what I enjoy doing more than anything else in my professional life.
that is so cool. And I love that you just happen to find a passion. Like
Yeah, it was
doors
an
and
accident.
opportunities are
Yeah,
put in front of you. And
I
I
agree.
want people, listeners, you hear his story right now and look what it's turned into. So you never know when you're going to see an opportunity or something is in
Yep,
front of you in life. So keep your
I
eyes open.
totally agree. And a lot of times you don't even have to look for it. The door is there. It's just a matter of taking the step. And I've heard that a lot, throughout my life from mentors or podcasts or books. I know it's something you talk about, but it's like, dude, just face your fears. Like, it's going to be uncomfortable. It may be weird. And like, if a door presents itself, why not explore it? And something like that it was a lofty goal, you know, thinking of like, yeah, I'm going to row across an entire ocean on a rowboat with four army dudes with no sea experience. You know, it sounds, everybody I tell this to, they're like, "You're crazy." But at the end of the day, it's like, man, it just doesn't, for me, it's like, maybe, but I just wanted to check it out. This door was available and I sent it and it's working out. And it's just take the risk. It's fine. Everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of like facing fears and discomfort head on. I think that changes people and is it really like kind of the root of bonding with others. And like when you hear about, you go through hardship together, a lot of that time it's like there's fear and hardship that make teams and people grow. And we live comfy lives. So I was trying to not get too cozy on the couch as a corporate guy.
Don't get too soft. You still have to be
I
hard a
know,
little.
dude. I'm still scared of that, dude. I'm still scared of that.
Yeah.
I don't want to get soft yet.
Yeah. Well, that's a healthy fear. It's keeping you young
Yeah.
and strong and adventuresome and all that. And adventure therapy is a real thing. I've seen it. I've
Hmm.
worked with an organization called Camp Resilience. We've taken people out on boats in Lake Winnipesaukee up in
Hmm.
New England or New Hampshire. And man, it's incredible to see people that go through a weekend of hiking or sailing or just being together, bonding through that adventure. It's
Hmm.
incredible. They share stories, people start in the beginning, they're like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" A little
Yeah.
cold, and then they warm up, and next thing you know, they're learning about their experiences. They're sharing, and,
Yeah.
you know, people sharing their story, that alone can be so helpful, and I can only imagine the
Yeah.
stories that are shared on rowing across the ocean.
It's all of them. And I'm with you. I haven't done the ocean crossing yet. Our first one is in January. We're going for a world record attempt across the Gulf.
Wow.
Um, but I'm kind of piggybacking off of my teammates and what they just experienced. And they have a robust comms package on these boats. So we were talking while they were rowing, and I was getting videos and clips. But I'm telling you, like these are like our teammates are all older guys. They're retired. They're NCOs. And like stereotypical NCO, the people I enjoy hanging out with, but watching them after say things like, dude, yeah, it blew my mind. I'm gonna go get like counseling now. It literally changed my life. I think seeing normal people like us, normal veterans that you'd never expect to be like the spiritual guy or the therapy guy
Mm.
say like, bro, it freaking worked. It worked. It's crazy. I think that helps other people when they hear it. Like maybe I should get freaking help, man. Like maybe I should just send it and talk to somebody. And that's kind of like how I got into veteran support. Is I had a very low point when I was getting out, a dangerously low point, and essentially if it wasn't for Battle Buddies, if it wasn't for a Honor and Valor is another adventure therapy nonprofit, but I literally it changed my life just getting around other vets, doing the adventure therapy thing. It was a duck hunt in particular for me. Um, but realizing like if pipe hitter Chris can say like, yeah, I'm gonna get therapy, like I can do it too. It's not like a bad thing, which I know we all talk about in the veteran world is mental health and like just doing it, just get the help you need, talk to your friends. So I'm really fired up about it because I didn't see myself as like a mental health threat. I thought everything was good. I had no idea there was anything wrong with me. And then I snapped and realized like,
Mm.
holy shit, I'm like one of the people that I'm trying to cater to. And how I can't tell people to go get help if I'm not going to do it myself. And I did, and it changed everything. So,
Can you, if you're
what
comfortable,
about it?
can you share a little bit of that story? So for
Oh, I'll share
listeners
it.
or people out there that,
Yeah.
they can understand they're not alone. Like we all have
No,
these
yeah, I'm
moments.
happy to. I'm happy to. And honestly, as I was saying that, I was hoping you'd ask because honestly, I really do. I find that when I tell the story, other people open up too. The bottom line is as I was getting out of the army, I built this plan, like school, job, etc. And I executed it to the T. So I did I mean, literally the place that we're living, everything was exactly as planned, but I was still so unhappy. And at the time, didn't really think of it as like I am depressed. I have a mental issue. I have PTSD, any of that. I was just like, man, this transition sucks. That was where my head was like,
Mm.
this sucks. Figuring it out sucks. So I was on a work trip and I'd actually applied for another job at another corporation, like another corporate job, but it was a lot more money. It would like look better on paper. And this is where my head was at, was all chasing money and titles and all of that. Um, so on this work trip on the last day, it was a Friday, everybody flies home. I stayed in the hotel and I interviewed for this job. And there was a Green Beret that was on the other side. And he had gotten me into the interview. He called me the night before to go over what the questions would be. It was like I had all the tools. I go through the interview process. I felt that I had knocked it out of the park. Turns out I had found like a minor loophole in this case they gave me. So I had solved a problem that wasn't supposed to be part of the problem, but it was very easy. So I was like, this is easy. Like just if the company lays off 1% of their employees, they'll reach out like, oh, whatever. I was driving from Eastern Tennessee to Nashville immediately following the interview because we had a course for fundraising raiser the next day. I got a call that I didn't get the job, and dude, I legitimately lost it. I lost complete control of my mind and body, and I like went pedal to the floor as fast as the car would go, and I'm basically in the
Mm.
backwoods of Tennessee going like 130 miles an hour. Like, dude, all it would take is that, and I could end everything, and then all these problems go away. And I'm like crying and stuff. This is all like way outside of my characteristic, but it was very much a physiological. Like my body felt it, my mind, like
Mm.
I knew something was wrong, and I was essentially having like a mental breakdown. And I just knew like you got to phone a friend when that happens, because I'd seen that stuff in my career with people that worked for me or friends that I've had. And so I called a battle buddy, and the first thing he said, he's one of my best friends who we met through school actually, was welcome to the club, dude. Like you're one of us. You've arrived. We all go through this. And it kind of opened my eyes to like, dude, this is normal for us. We all go through it. Even if you don't think you're a threat, like, bro, getting out, like, I imagine you'd have the same issue if you left the NFL due to injury. You know what I mean? Like, you're leaving a very elite club with inherent built in purpose. You're traveling the world. You're working with some of America's finest. And then you go to corporate, everything changes. And I lost control of my mind and body for that. And so after that, I calmed down. I pulled over, got a hotel room. Ironically, that next day was a Courser fundraiser. So I went to the fundraiser, and I had called one of my teammates after I'd gotten talked down off a ledge, because I was supposed to stay at his house that night. And I was like, hey, man, I'm not coming over. I almost lost it. I almost killed myself in a car. Like I have no idea what's going on in my head. But ultimately, that was like the catalyst that made me realize like I need to go see somebody and get help. And so I started that process. But I mean, overnight, it was almost like a perspective shift. Like I realized, like, wait a second, I think I've been like clinically depressed, and it's probably been even before I got out. And as I started getting treatment, I went through transcranial magnetic stimulation. It was fantastic. Like, highly recommend for anybody that's got TBI or PTSD. But afterwards, like, I can very clearly see this like cloud over a period of my life that was like, I was definitely like depressed. Like, it was something was
Mm.
way off. And I had no idea at the time, but somehow when I completed this training and like my kind of like life turned around, I could see that that was a problem, and I had no clue. The whole time I was like, I'm good. I was
Mm.
drinking every single night too. Like I never really thought of myself as an alcoholic, but I was slugging bourbon like every night. Like if we were at the range till 2 a.m. and I got home by 3, I'd still have bourbons before a 6 a.m. wake up. And it's not like I drank at work ever or anything, but I was drinking like every single night. And so this also helped me realize like, oh shit, dude, maybe I'm maybe I'm an alcoholic. I should fix that. And so I just took some time, quit drinking, saw what it did to my body, and was like, damn, this is kind of nice. I look way better with the shirt off. So, um, but I say all that because the big thing for me is when I tell my story, it's like, I had no clue. I literally got out of the army thinking like, I never saw my buddies lose their arms. I never saw the real catastrophes that a lot of my battle buddies saw. I'm high paying job. I live where I want. I got wife. My wife is incredibly happy now that I'm out. Everything's fine, and I still snapped, and I had no clue that was coming. And I've told this story dozens of times now. And telling it, I've seen other people open up. Like, oh well, if he can say that he went through it, like I can say like I almost shot myself in the face. And those are like really important things to talk about, because that's where like the therapy comes in. I think a lot of us, if we just had exposure to a network that was like us, and we just had this like place where you can say whatever about what you're going through, and people are like, yeah, bro, welcome to the club. Here's my story. You start to realize that we all have problems. It's all part of the process. If you're around explosions all day long for years and years, you're probably going to have some issues. And whether you think so or not, it's worth like at a minimum talking to your friends about it. And
Yeah,
then I tell vets,
absolutely.
like, dude, always be available when the buddy calls. If you get a battle buddy phone call at 2 o'clock in the morning, take it, because there's a good chance that it's not good what's going on.
Yeah, and
Mental
there's a
is life,
reason
brother.
why. They're not gonna be calling you at 2 a.m.,
Yeah.
just to say hi. They're calling because something's going on, and
Yeah.
they may say it's just to say hi, like, "Hey, I was thinking of you checking in," but, like,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely answer the phone calls. And I think one of the real powerful things to me that you're sharing that you realized when you went through it is that you're not alone. Like when your
Yeah.
buddy was like, "Hey, welcome to the club." Because so
Yeah.
many of us, like you said, you're transitioning, you're getting out, you're getting your ducks in a row, and you're putting everything together, and you're like, "Oh,
Mhm.
I got to be squared away. I got to be squared away." And then, oh shit, I'm not squared away. You feel alone. You feel isolated. But to
Yeah.
have that boom, oh, all right, this is part of the process. So I think people, that's why we share, hey, get it out there, talk to somebody.
Just talk
Because
to
if you do
somebody.
keep it
Yeah.
in, it's going to eat you alive and you're not alone. That's the big thing.
Mhm.
You're not alone.
Yeah, and after all this, like a whole bunch of other like very coincidental things happened in my life. And the long story short of that is I ended up starting to go to church. And I heard a Sean Ryan podcast episode where this dude Lee Strobel was like, "Look, man, if you try it and you don't like it and it doesn't do anything for you, then stop. It literally doesn't that doesn't change your life at all. But if any of that stuff is real, it's like the most important story in our universe." And so I was like, "F it, I'm gonna go get TSM. I'm gonna try going to church." I tried all these different things and it's all worked out. I go to a men's group now on Tuesday mornings where I sit with like civilians from the small town in Texas that I live in. And what I've realized is we're not the only ones with issues. Like everybody's got issues. Just like people in general, especially men, like we don't talk about issues because of whatever reason, and I think a lot of the reasons we don't talk are valid. Like I'm not advocating for dudes to run around and cry on each other's shoulders everywhere. I feel like that'd be a negative. But your close friends, your confidants, they should be the people that you can call and say, "Dude, can you just hear me out? Like, I might be crazy. I'm dealing with this thing, and I have no idea. Like, I don't get it. Just hear me out." Veterans are better at that because we all know. If you were to call me right now, I just met you today, and you were to call me and say, "Dude, can you just hear me out? I'd be like, let's go, bro." Like, I've talked to now guys from my very first platoon that are struggling, called out of nowhere, and I remember seeing like, dude, I don't want to take this call, but then when I answer, it's like clearly a cry for help. So at the end of the day, we all need to talk. You need to share your stories, what you're struggling with, whether it's with a friend, a pastor, a therapist, because that helps. And then just like all the big leagues are saying, like squash the stigma of mental health issues being a negative. Like we all deal with it. And frankly, for us, it's because we do high speed shit for 10 years or 20 years or whatever. Like you're constantly doing high speed stuff. So that's going to have an impact. So when you get out, like go do the therapy, go do the adventure therapy, come row with Courser, or go get a therapist or go to church or something that gets your mind right spiritually so that you can, repair the damage that the military is going to do, regardless of what job you have.
Yeah, or life,
Yeah.
depending
Or
on
life
where
in
you are
general.
in
Yeah.
life. It's
Yeah.
yeah, like, someone gets in a car accident, they lose their spouse or a
Mm,
child dies, God forbid. Like
yeah.
there's things that we as human beings, we're going to be tried and
Yeah.
pushed and you're going to suffer. You can't go through life and never have any suffering. And
No,
learning
and
how to handle that is so important.
absolutely. And the last thing I'll say on that is in one of those men group, like that whole thing is designed to like break out in small groups and kind of talk about what's going on. I shared that story. I was still kind of really in the low. I was like coming out of this low part of my life. And the next dude that talked was like, "Oh, my dad's been in prison for 20 years. I'm still taking care of my sister." It's like, I'm listening to this guy like, why did I even talk, dude? Like that guy's story is way more hardcore than mine. And he was a civilian. And it made me realize that, like, yeah, everybody's got their thing. It's nothing wrong with it. And I would venture to bet that any person that you could gain the trust with could tell you something that they're dealing with that's having an impact on them and they don't know what to do about it. Even if you have everything in the world, there's probably something that's getting to you. And I think we could all be better people if we could figure out how to like tribe up and get through those challenges together.
No, absolutely. And let's talk about challenges right now with some people face challenges of victim mentality. Like,
Hmm.
oh, I can't, because
Oh
we're
yeah.
talking about tragedy or when things go
Yeah.
wrong, like for you, hey, that job fell through and that went wrong. But other things in
Hmm.
life, someone has a bad spouse
Yep.
or, someone's abused or something happens at a childhood. Victim mentality, I think, is very rampant right now.
Hmm.
How would you advise somebody maybe that has that or is coming out of it to deal with it?
Well, the first thing I'll say is like it. to those listening, part of that is acknowledging that you're calling yourself a victim, right? And I say that because when I went through my incident, it was my fault I failed the interview. I'm fucked up. I'm the problem. I'm handling everything myself. Um, and again, at the time, I wouldn't have said like, I'm victimizing myself. I think I like fundamentally believe that any challenge that you're given in life is you're not going to be given that challenge by whatever higher being you believe in, if any. That you're not going to be given a challenge you can't overcome. And there's this really awesome book that I love to quote called "The Obstacle Is the Way," where essentially he talks about when life gives you an obstacle, that obstacle becomes the way. It's not like, well, I'm screwed now. My life sucks now. It's how do I overcome this obstacle? If it's a spouse, like, dude, solve the problem. And you can solve any challenge that's put in front of you. The difference is you may need more people to solve bigger problems. And that's why call your battle buddies, dude. Like I was
Yeah.
dealing with a problem that I thought I could manage myself. When I realized I could just vent to one friend, like my one battle buddy who we now talk every day, it's like he gives me advice that I would have never heard of. I've learned more about the VA from this dude than the VA can teach me about the VA. And so I would say, it's very easy to play the victim. And I do agree with you. I think it's rampant. And, especially young people, dude, it's like just understand that all of those negatives, they're just obstacles. Like put them on a whiteboard and start knocking them down one at a time. You can accomplish anything that you put your mind to. I really mean that. I literally just saw like three guys row across the Pacific Ocean in a rowboat. You know, um, but I'm a big fan of like that whole obstacle is the way concept. I'd recommend that book. I want to say it's Ryan Holiday, but somebody that talks a lot about like Marcus Aurelius and stoicism. Yeah, but basically, like, dude, give me any challenge, any, and I promise you, if you just take a minute, recognize that's an obstacle. It's not a problem with Pete. How do I overcome that? Can I do it by myself? Do I need to get my wife involved? Do I need a couple battle buddies? Like anything that's put in front of you, you can accomplish. You can get past. And I think that the act of you know reducing an obstacle or getting past it is what makes us all stronger people. I'd venture to bet that any one of the most successful people you could ever talk to could, in an instant, name to you some of the biggest obstacles they ever came in their life. And some of them you'd probably be like, holy shit, dude, I've never had anything that difficult. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
my
they're
advice
still
would be like, take it
successful.
head on. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think you become better for it. And shifting my mindset on that, is like, I started to look at, like, okay, why am I depressed? you know, it's not because I live in Texas when I wanted to live in Colorado. It's not because of X, Y, or Z. When I started to figure it out, I was like, well, these are the things that I'm going to address. And really what I found was it was a mindset shift. It literally, as soon as I decided, like, hey, I'm the boss of me, and these things that I don't like that I'm dealing with, I'm going to fix them so I don't have to deal with them anymore. Most of those problems I didn't know how to solve myself. I was just living with. Um, but when you hear a buddy or your wife say, like my wife is so cool. She never said anything about a drinking problem. But when I was like, hey, I think I drink too much. She's like, yeah, I think you do too. It's like, well, that was enough for me to be like, damn, why didn't you say that earlier? If you say it, then I'll stop.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but overall, yeah, it's a mindset thing, man. It's just, and I literally anybody, you take anybody, I promise you, if you put your mind to overcoming whatever you're dealing with, and stop being this victim. It doesn't exist. It's not real. All you're doing is slowing yourself down. The act of overcoming whatever that is going to make you better on the flip side. And if you have to do it more than other people, you'll probably end up being more successful than other people.
Yeah.
Um,
Can we drill
that's how I
down
feel
on that
about
a
it.
little bit? And,
Yeah,
are
let's
there
do
any
it.
techniques that you find, like, as far as either self-awareness, journaling, meditation, go for a walk, like,
Yeah,
what do you do when you see yourself, you get
that's a good
that
question.
negative dialogue or whatnot? So what
That's a great
techniques
question.
do you have other
First and
than rowing
foremost,
across the ocean?
oh, dude, just take 60 days off of work and go row across an ocean. No big, no. That's a great question. I'll bet my answer is one that many have said, but physical fitness, like anything physical, especially if it takes more than an hour. For me personally, what I've found is I've got trails behind my house. I'll go walk on these trails, and That's where all my best thinking gets done. So I found that it's when you're depressed, it's really hard to get out into the gym. This was something I was dealing with. I wasn't working out as much as I'm used to. I started gaining weight, and that was one of those things where I was like unhappy with my health. So I'm gonna start working out again. And the moment I did, I find myself on the bench rack thinking like, do I even like my job? I should look at moving into a different project. It clears your mind, but get away from the noise. Something as simple as a walk, but try to get into a rhythm of doing that frequently, because I think human beings are designed to be active, and it's very easy when you're out of the military to not be active at all. It's a lot more difficult to get up and go to the gym or get outside and ruin your legs on a run or a walk or whatever. So that's one. Um, Honestly, that's probably the biggest one for me. Is it like I'm working on becoming better about the meditation piece. I'm trying to become disciplined in the morning where I take just like 20 minutes to stretch and just focus or say a prayer or whatever. But I'm pretty bad at that. I got that area to improve. But I think once you start getting out and getting active again, that helps. But like I keep telling people, it's like, dude, stop. Just don't get worked up when things go wrong. It's like if it were a combat mission and you wanted to go left, but were forced to go right, nobody would just throw their guns on the ground and say, fuck it, this is dumb. I don't want to do that. They'd be like, well, I guess we're going right, bro. Like, that's the way we're going now. So let's go that way. And that's kind of how I approach everything now. It's like bad interview. Like, I've had dozens of interviews, by the way, that none of them have been successful. And frankly, not in industries I want to be in. It's like, hey, that's clearly not my way then. That wasn't my path. On to the next target. Um, that's kind of the way I look at it. Short answer, get outside, be active, sunshine, time away from noise, put the phone down, spend some time with your kids. That type of thing, I think, is where you'll find that you can adjust yourself mentally to overcome obstacles rather than just, internally, I want to say bitching about it, but really victim mentality is a lot of times I've found like you just don't even know you're doing it. Um,
Mhm.
I try to tell my buddies, I definitely tell our teammates, we talk a lot about transparency now. And like we will flat out call somebody out if it's like, dude, I think you need to stop, come to this meeting and go get some help. Or we'll call our teammates, say, hey man, I haven't heard in you in a while. You good? Like your buddies will help you recognize when things are going not the way they should. So I guess the other one would be surround yourself with veterans, man. If you're a veteran, surround yourself with your people in whatever discipline or tribe or group or whatever that is, but people that you can trust and talk to. Um, between all that, I mean, I think you could solve a lot of your problems just doing that alone.
Absolutely. And that's why you're here on the asset mindset, because
That's
that's
why I
step
showed up
two
here. Yeah, yeah,
is surround yourself with good
yeah.
people in positive environments. Like you do
Absolutely,
that, that's going to change your life for the better. It
a
absolutely
hundred
is.
percent, a
And
hundred percent.
any of you listeners out there, hit pause, go in the description if you want to find out about everything that Peter's doing, or Pete, whatever you want to go by.
Either
But
or.
Cursor Racing, you can find out about that if you want to support, donate. Maybe you're interested in rowing across the ocean. But yeah, definitely go in the link in the bio,
Come on
and all
out.
that information will be there. Reach out to Peter. He's obviously, as you see, very open, very giving person, and which is why he's on the podcast. And of course, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe the Asset Mindset
Yeah,
podcast.
do that. Like, follow, and subscribe, ladies and gentlemen. The followers and the likes matter.
Yeah, and share.
Help spread
Share with
and
people who
share.
need it.
Yeah,
That's one of the big things too. Like sharing's great, but share with those that you think, wow, they need to hear this, or someone that you know is struggling and needs a better mindset, because
hundred
it's
percent.
so important. And I love that you mentioned the walk, and you've talked
Mm.
about stressing, well, not stressing, that's the wrong word. I apologize.
It's probably
But
the right word.
struggling.
I that's kind of my thing is too much stress. You know, the anxiety and high strung and all that.
Yeah. But you're saying you were struggling with meditation or whatnot in the morning, like going for a walk, that can be a walking meditation.
A
You're
hundred
there,
percent. Yeah,
you're out in nature, you're getting fresh air, your blood's flowing, and then your mind can relax and you can start thinking of better things or positive things
yeah.
or problem solving during the walk. I think that's a great stepping stone. And I'm glad you shared that with the audience, because, for someone that's just starting out and you're, scrolling through YouTube or listening to different podcasts, hey, where do I begin? Go for a walk.
Yeah. It's so easy. And you know what else too is that I found, because I started doing the walking thing not too long ago. It's hot in Texas, so I have to do that too early or late at night. And so it's hard to get up and do that late at night. But once you've done it a couple times, it becomes habitual. You tend to want to do that. And so now I won't miss it. And it's not because I'm like, man, I need my therapy walk. It's because I genuinely benefit so much from just the time away from the devices and just thinking and walking with my dog.
Yeah.
It's I think too many of us try to advise people like go get a physical trainer, or go join a gym. It's like that's a lot of stuff, man, for a lot of people. It's easy to go outside and walk. You can do that anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And the one thing,
Take a
whether it's
walk.
walk or working out, I've
Mhm.
never ever met anybody that afterwards feels worse.
No, no,
It's
no,
one of
and
those
I'll bet
things.
you in the work that you do on this podcast, I'll bet you've met a lot of people too that would say the same thing if you ask that question. Like, do something physical, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's hard to be and
Mhm.
down when you're moving and you're exercising, the blood's flowing, you got fresh air, birds are flying around, or you see the sun's out and blue sky. Like you just, your mind is taking all that in, and there's a lot of beauty in the world.
Mhm.
Something I share and I'll share with you, and you can use with the groups that you work with. People talk about triggers all the time.
Yep.
Well, instead of seeing triggers around, look at glimmers.
Mhm.
Glimmer of something beautiful, glimmer of something that you're grateful for.
Oh
Just like
yeah.
there's triggers all around us, there's glimmers everywhere. So start noticing the glimmery or the shiny things in life. As you're driving and you see a rainbow, or you see a mom and a kid, embrace, and oh, isn't that
Mhm.
cute? The hug, like there are things of beauty and love all around the world.
Oh
All
yeah.
the time. There's a lot of negative and bad stuff, but you don't have to focus on that. See it,
No.
acknowledge it, it's out there, but you can focus on the good things.
Easy. And I heard a pretty famous podcast. Well, it's Tucker Carlson. I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about political figures here, but I heard him on his podcast recently say, if I were just to pause and open up my eyes, I would probably recognize a lot of miracles and great things going on in the world that I'm just blind to because I'm sucked in on all the negatives that are going on. So I agree with you. And then the last thing on this one, you talked about mindset, and something I've talked about with the team. I've talked about with Denny on his podcast. If you go Google, like type into the search bar 1% better British cycling team, you'll come up with this story of from whenever, it wasn't that recent, but you had this British professional cycling team that was losing all the time, and they weren't, basically their whole motto that they decided to try to like implement to start winning was, if we can just get 1% better in what we're doing, eventually we'll be winning. And so they went down to like, selecting the right pillows for their athletes and like making their bike 1 ounce lighter, like every little thing they could do to improve 1%. And that became one of the most winningest cycling teams out there. So I talk a lot about like, dude, if you can make yourself a better person, 1%, whether it's physical, mental, read a book, anything, you'll know it. Everybody knows what makes you better. Get 1% better every day. Eventually you're going to be better than everybody else. And so that's what I try to tell people about our nonprofit. Like, we're literally just trying to get 1% better every day. Eventually we'll have all the funding we need. Eventually we'll be running programs all the time. But in the time being, it's just, dude, just 1%. If you can literally go walk for 5 minutes, you've just gotten a little bit better, and that'll grow. And then you'll walk for 10, 20 an hour. And then, now you're not even going to think about walking as getting better. You're going to say, I'm going to read something, you know? So I try to tell that to a lot of people as well. It's like I really believe in that mentality of like, dude, take every day, good or bad, get 1% better. Promise you your life will improve. Get out and be physical, surround yourself with your buddies. We can really tackle a lot of the mental health challenges that vets go through if you could somehow build that out for people. And a lot of times that means people like us that know this, like we're calling our friends and teammates that we know are not doing that. Um, Spread the love.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things too. I think people don't realize how much love there is in the military.
Yeah.
We are shoulder to shoulder, side by side, with people in horrific things. And yeah, there's a lot of evil out there, but there's a lot of love and goodness too. Like the guys that I've
Yeah.
seen that served with, I'm sure there's amazing men. Like I still can't believe some of the guests I have on here, some of the guys I served with that, I'm friends with. I'm like, oh my God, like it's incredible.
Hmm.
And, you know, it is so powerful to surround yourself with positive people. So
Hmm.
just make
Yeah.
sure you're doing that. Get a group, a team, whatever it is, because it's gonna change your life. It'll change your world
Yeah.
and be a good asset to those other people too. So
I
before
love
we
the I
go,
love the asset mindset, and I'm sorry to interrupt you,
oh,
but
you're good.
a final comment and thought on that is all veterans, you just mentioned these hardships we go through. You're almost like you're kind of inherently an asset to your communities with that. And so another thing that I've found for me that's been extremely helpful is I'm in a small town. I've got my little veteran cohort that I spend a good amount of time with, but when I'm talking to like the civilian friends, you are more equipped to deal with struggle than most people are because you've been around it and all your buddies have been around it and you've heard stories that like nobody can one up. So if you take your struggles, like I'm sucking, I have a problem, something's going on, and think about it from a perspective of, dude, everybody I know has gone through something like this. And if Green Beret Pete is going through it, like I'm more equipped to handle it. How bad do the others have it? Like give back by saying, like, dude, I'm struggling too. Like, look at me and what I've done, and I struggle too. We all struggle, man. Like, so let's do those things that I just mentioned. And it really becomes easy. I think the positivity is a huge part of it. But that's why I love what you're doing here because I think you are preaching to a large audience about, and maybe preaching is the wrong word, but like it's simple adjustments to your mindset. And you can become an asset to your communities, your family, veterans, your buddies that are still in. You can give a lot of back, even if you feel like I'm worthless. You're not, it's like literally that is your brain. It's not you in control. And if you're somebody that thinks that on a regular basis and you think nothing's wrong with you, it's just you, go call a buddy. Call me, dude. I don't care. I'll listen to your story and I'll tell you what I've been through and we'll figure it out. Um, but I appreciate what you're doing here with
Oh, thank
asset
you.
mindset.
And yeah, it's been pretty incredible, the journey and helping people and just realizing, I've joked sometimes, about the pen is mightier than the sword. I joined like you. I wanted to be a Green Beret. I wanted to get out
Yeah.
there, help people, make changes in the world, which I did and did great things and served with great people. But
Hmm.
boy, the book and now the podcast and really reaching people and getting out, like it's changing
Yeah.
people and changing the world. And it's incredible. And I feel so blessed to do it and to get guys like you out here that are doing the same thing. That's why you're here, because you're living testimony of being an asset in the world or
Hmm.
having the asset mindset philosophy. And just because you
Hmm.
have this philosophy doesn't mean you're not going to have troubles or struggle,
Of
because that's part
course.
of the human condition. But
Hmm.
having this mindset will help you get through it. So
100%.
before
Yep.
we wrap up, I want to ask, what do you think has been your biggest contributor to being successful and being a positive person in life?
Oh, that's a good question. Biggest contributor. My instinctual answer here is going to be somewhere around resilience. And I think overall, I don't set my sights low ever. My goals are always lofty and I look at a lot of them, but I really do believe that you're going to be thrown obstacles and it's going to come from every direction. Like they say, the enemy always has a vote. But if you think about it, if you think about anything you're struggling with as just an obstacle, it's just part of the process. Like, yeah, I'm not allowed to have it easy here. That to me is just, that's what keeps me positive. Like you drop the hammer on me right now and I'll be like, well,
Yeah.
damn, now I got to figure out this problem, and just keep a positive attitude about the obstacles in your life. That I think is really what builds resiliency. And I think that's, you're like you said, everybody's going to have hardships, different degrees, different times. But I think for me personally, it's one, setting unreasonable goals. There's nothing wrong with that. You can literally accomplish anything you want. More people have gone to freaking space than have crossed an ocean on a rowboat. Um, and just address those obstacles is like part of the process. It's just part of the process. Your obstacles are different than mine. You can overcome them. And if you need a battle buddy, like, hey man, I like to help out. Like, call me. call another friend and tackle obstacles together. But I think looking at hardship that way is what has made me most successful
Well,
and
you're
got me where I
definitely
am today.
resilient.
Well,
So
that's
good
one of
job,
my things, I
man.
guess.
No,
I appreciate it.
it's great. And I want to add to that a little. Obstacles help you grow, and you're here to
Exactly.
grow and have growth
Hmm.
and change. If you're not growing, you're dying. And
Hmm.
everybody out there, I think we all want to grow and not die. So, and if you're having that bad moment, reach out to someone because you should be wanting to grow and learn and be an asset to others.
Yeah.
Spread some love in the world. Do some good things that make you feel good. And I'm going to go through the quick one, two, threes. One, take ownership of your life and realize you're your greatest asset. Two,
Yep.
you need to surround yourself with good people in positive
Yeah.
environments. And three, be an asset to others. You do those three things, it's a recipe for success. So, Peter,
100%, man.
thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for, I want to say, like, breaking grounds, but you're not breaking grounds. I guess you're rowing oceans. So thanks for doing that
Yeah.
and helping people. And it's been a great time here on the show today with you. And remember, everybody, link in the bio, go in there, check it out, see what Peter's doing, see what the rowboats are doing. Or do you have a name for the boat, by the way? Most people name their boats.
Yeah. No, our boat's named Relentless.
Relentless. Ah,
Yeah,
nice.
there's the relentless pursuit of making this thing happen, and so that's what we named our boat
Ah,
after. And I was gonna say when we finish this Gulf of America crossing in January, I'll reach back out because that'll be a bunch of world records. I believe as of right now we're validating that, but I don't think anybody's ever done it. So I'll
oh,
reach back out when that
fantastic.
happens. And then we can talk about where I am mentally.
No, super cool. We'll do a follow up.
Right on.
And definitely share on socials all that information. I'll put it out
Yeah.
there if you're looking for sponsors or whatnot. I'll share. And I'm glad I asked for the name of the boat. That was pretty cool. So
Yeah,
again,
it's getting wrapped right now. When it's done, it's like this tiger stripe camo. It's gonna look sick, and it should be done in a couple
nice.
weeks. But I'll send you a picture.
How big is it?
It's 31 feet, I believe, in
Okay.
length. There's a cabin on either end that can fit two. It's not comfortable, but it can. And then it has three rowing positions, and all of your storage is under the hull. So it's like the transoceanic rows are self-supporting. So you pack like 6 million calories worth of food, and you don't get to see anybody else for a month or two.
Wow. Incredible. What an
Yeah.
incredible thing, man. I love it. I can't wait to hear about it. So thanks again for being on
Yeah.
the show. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. And of course, always own your power.